episode of Pyathlon. Today we'll be going more in depth about object-oriented programming. In the last video we talked about abstraction, polymorphism, encapsulation, and inheritance, and today we'll show what those actually look like when you're programming. So here's the car class we've created in the prior video, and the first concept we'll talk about implementing is inheritance. So we discussed in the last video that all vehicles have these attributes, so this really isn't a car class, it's a vehicle class. So we'll change that name and then we'll run that cell. And we also talked about we'll have a class for motorcycles and cars that inherit from this vehicle class. So let's program those now. So we'll start with our motorcycle class. When you're creating a class that inherits from another class, when you go to define your child class, you have to pass in the name of the parent class in parentheses here, so we'll pass in vehicle. We discussed the one attribute that the motorcycle class will have that every vehicle doesn't have is a handlebar style. So we'll define that variable here. We'll call it handlebar underscore style, and we'll set that equal to an empty string for now. And now let's create the initialization method for a motorcycle class. Remember, we always have to start with self. And here we'll pass in the attributes of the parent class also. So we'll have make, model, color, year, and handlebar style. Handlebar style is only an attribute of the child class, not the parent class. Keep that in mind. So in our initialization function, we'll use the super keyword. Super is just referring to the parent class, in this case the vehicle class. So we'll do super dot init. This super is referring to the vehicle class. So this is actually calling the initialization function from this vehicle class. And remember, for this we just pass in make, model, color, and year, not handlebar style, because that only belongs to our child class. So we'll pass in those attributes now. Make, model, color, and year. I have one extra parenthesis, I'll delete that. And now here's where we can actually set the value for handlebar style. So we can do self.handlebar underscore style equals handlebar underscore style. Then we can run that. And that is what the implementation of a child class in Python looks like. Now we have our motorcycle class that inherits from our vehicle class, uses the initialization function from that vehicle class, and we pass in those attributes. And then we also set any additional attributes we have down here. And we'll just copy and paste this to make our child class since it's our car class, since it's very similar. So we can just change that to car. And cars don't have handlebars, so we'll change this attribute to number of doors. And we'll set that to 0 for now. Then we can just copy this and just replace our handlebar style with number of doors. So we can run that, and now we have our motorcycle and child class. So let's make our first car object, and we'll set that equal to car. And now here we'll pass in make, model, color, year, and number of doors. So for make we can do Honda, model we can do Accord, color we'll say black, year we can do 2020, and number of doors we can say 4. And now we have a car class. And let's use this car class and let's call the start function. Now, if you look at our car class, you'll see that there is no start function, but we can still use this function because car inherits from vehicle, and vehicle has a start function. And that's what inheritance looks like in practice in language that we discussed in prior videos. We'll start with encapsulation. Now, I'll read you an excerpt from the Python documentation with regards to private variables, which are often used in other programming languages to encapsulate. The documentation says, private instance variables that cannot be accessed except from inside an object don't exist in Python. However, there is a convention that is followed by most Python code. A name prefix with an underscore should be treated as a non-public part of the API, end quote. And what this is saying is, in other programming languages, you can make private instance variables that can be only accessed from inside of an object. You can't do that in Python But if you have an instance variable that you would like to be treated as such, then you can prefix it with an underscore like this. Now, another programmer can come behind us, or someone can use this software we've created and make objects or use the software without necessarily knowing the implementation of the classes themselves, and that's an example of abstraction. They can use the code without fully understanding the implementation of it. If you'll see here, you'll see we use the start function from a car object, and it's using the start function of the parent class. We can also make a motorcycle object that uses the same start function. Even though motorcycle also doesn't have a start function, it will be using the start function from the vehicle class. So all of our child objects can use a function from the parent class regardless of what type of child object they are. And that's an example of polymorphism in practice. So I hope this video provides you with a more in-depth understanding of what object-oriented programming is and how these concepts come together in the real world. So thank you for watching, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.